Vice President of Smart Enterprise Business Unit from NEC APAC in Singapore, and it gives us great pleasure to welcome you to NEC IT Disruptive Digital Transformation Sessions. We would also like to thank Jean-Philippe Deneuve and the team from ProximaSoft, our local partners, for helping us out in organizing this event. Disruptive changes require new strategies. NEC looked at ways to craft new strategies to best exploit opportunities, and our presenters will share with you some key technologies and their impact on your organizations, independently of your industries. During today's presentation, we will show you how technology can be harnessed to improve security, both logical, cybersecurity, and physical biometric. Collect and analyze data for better customer service and faster with factual decisions. Our smart hospitality solutions helps to bring better customer satisfaction. And last, we will share you how data center technology are evolving to ensure that you can sustain growth and the enterprise IT workloads. Before we officially launch the opening video, I would like to thank the Minister of Technology, Communications and Innovations, His Honorable Mr. Yogita Swaminathan, for his support to this event, and also His Excellence Mr. Yoshida Kato, Japanese Ambassador, for his presence and his active role in promoting Japanese culture and technology. Thank you.
Yoshida Kato, Japanese Ambassador in Mauritius. Mr. De Sanasi, the President of the Mauritius Information and Technology Industry Association. Mr. David Owie, Vice President of NEC Asia Pacific. Mr. Suji Venufaya and Christopher Chan of NEC Asia Pacific. Members of the family of the IT professionals. All protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me immense pleasure to be with you today on the occasion of the Disruptive Digital Transformation Customer Day event organized by NEC Asia Pacific. A big welcome to all speakers and participants from abroad. I hope that we'll make the most of the day and have time to appreciate the beauty of our island. I understand that during today's event, participants will be able to listen to various speakers on different facets pertaining to digital transformation and the disruption that the latter is causing all over the world. During the first half of the event, participants will be appraised of what Industry 4.0 is and how it is bound to change the way businesses as well as government operate. Then, in the second half of the event, Smart Enterprise Platform Solution by NEC will be presented. I believe that decision makers can greatly benefit from being aware of such solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to say a few words about the ICT industry in Mauritius. With its 6% contribution to the GDP, ICT has become the third pillar of the Mauritian economy, after the financial sector and the tourism sector. Today, the ICT sector is represented by more than 750 ICT KPO enterprises in Mauritius, employing over 23,000 professionals. My ambition is to double the number of IT professionals in the coming years, and I intend to do so by making sure the government creates an environment where enterprises can flourish. As such, I'm proud to have been able to present to Parliament in December 2017 a new Data Protection Act, which makes Mauritius the first country in the world to meet the new requirements of the European General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR. This will allow companies in the ICT KPO sector to continue to provide quality services to their clients in Europe. In his last budget speech, the Prime Minister of Mauritius and the Minister of Finance, Honorable Pravin Jagnat, announced a series of important measures concerning my ministry. Given that a number of studies show that the jobs of the future will be technology-based, it is imperative that our children are introduced to science, technology, engineering and maths, as well as computer programming at a very young age. Government will train some 2,000 students in primary school and 2,500 students at secondary level in coding this year. Under the SME employment scheme, government will contribute 14,000 rupees, that is 45,000 Japanese yen per month, towards the salary of young graduates. This will give the opportunity to more SMEs to employ young IT professionals to drive their digital transformation, which is so critical for competitiveness today. To support the concept of work at home, government is giving a tax credit of 5% for 3 years to employers to encourage more people, especially women, to enter the workforce without having to neglect their family. In addition, the intake of students in computer science and software and engineering at the University of Mauritius will be doubled. Furthermore, to support the increasing demand of high-level competencies in ICT in Mauritius, government will introduce a new scholarship scheme of 50 university students specializing in emerging technologies, including blockchain and, very importantly, AI. Speaking of AI, the government is also setting up a Mauritius Artificial Intelligence Council as an ideal platform for the synergy of the public and private sector. The council will consist of experts in computer science and artificial intelligence, who will have the responsibility to develop AI roadmap for Mauritius. Being conscious that digitalization is necessary to modernize our public sector, the Prime Minister's office will spearhead a steering committee to drive this initiative. It will ensure that there is a timely implementation of projects within the budget. My ministry, through the services of the Central Informatics Bureau, the Central Information System Division, and the IT Security Unit, and the National Computer Board, will be supporting this digitalization process. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to talk about our IT infrastructure. Today, the whole island is covered with fiber optics, and we have become the first country in Africa to offer an internet bandwidth of 100 megabits per second to users. International internet connectivity is currently being provided by 2 submarine cables, the SAFE cable and the Lion 2 cable. As from end of 2019, we will see the coming up into operation of the IOX and METIS cable, which will increase international internet bandwidth. This much increased bandwidth has the potential to make Mauritius become a connectivity hub. At the same time, we'll be connecting Rodrigue as well with the SAFE cable. We anticipate new businesses such as data centers and disaster recovery centers to emerge to service the region and the African continent. Furthermore, since the liberalization of telecommunication in 2003, the mobile penetration rate has been constantly on the rise and stood at 145% by end of 2016. Today, anyone in Mauritius can enjoy mobile internet at an affordable rate and 4G speed. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now elaborate on some initiatives adopted by my ministry concerning cybersecurity. This year, the Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT-MU, of the National Computer Board, a parastatal body which falls under my ministry, has been mandated to set up a cyber threat monitoring system to better monitor and respond to cyber threats at national level. Our objective is to detect potentially devastating cyber attacks as well as possible and respond in real time. It has also been agreed that the Regional Capacity Building Center for Cybercrime will be set up in Mauritius, and provision has now been made in the budget to kickstart the project. The objective of the center is to serve as a coordination and a focal point for the countries in the region, and it has 3 components, namely capacity building, harmonization of legal framework, and international cooperation. We are also looking at the setting up of certification authority, which will operate within the national public key infrastructure of Mauritius. Ladies and gentlemen, a country can only become better through innovation. The World Intellectual Property Organization recently placed Mauritius 75th in the world and 3rd in Africa, after South Africa and Tunisia, in its Global Innovation Index 2018, but there is ample room for progress. One of our major missions at the Ministry of Technology, Communication and Innovation is to create a culture of innovation in the country. As such, my ministry will set up a Digital Economic Council very soon. This will consist of representatives of the private sector, governmental bodies, as well as technology experts to advise on training and educational strategies. The aim is to better equip our citizens with the knowledge and skill they will need in the future. Mauritius is committed to an ideal of sharing and collaboration. Our country is a member of the SADC and the COMESA, and as such, we are already partnering with a number of Asian countries who will use Mauritius as a bridge towards the African continent. We already have signed important MOUs with India and China. Pertaining to this matter, we would naturally welcome Japan as another important partner in their quest towards the African continent. This is why I believe that next Asia Pacific Customer Day event come at a very opportune time. On this note, I wish you an excellent day of fruitful interaction. Thank you.
Minister of Technology, Communication and Innovation. Mr. Devi Swami, President of Ocean Information and Technology Association, Industry Association. Mr. David Wei, Vice President, NEC, Asia Pacific Limited. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you, Minister Yida, for taking time out of your busy schedule to present this event. Also, I have to thank NEC and partners for inviting me to say a few words today. My name is Yoshihara Kato, Japanese ambassador to Mauritius. Japan set up the office of the embassy in Mauritius 1 year and 7 months ago. Time flies. I have been working as the first resident ambassador for almost 1 year. I am pleased and honored to be able to work with the Mauritian government to strengthen bilateral relations. I am also pleased to expand the cooperation with the private sector, and in this connection, it's a great honor to be among with you on the occasion of the opening ceremony of this significant conference. July this year, I was proud to witness the signature ceremony between two companies, namely Ignite from Mauritius and NEC Exxon from Japan, where both firms entered into an unprecedented partnership to fight against cyber crime in Mauritius. NEC is among the world's top 100 most innovative organizations and has been collaborating with African countries by providing high-quality infrastructure and financial schemes. It helped ensure security in the airports and the stadiums in UK. NEC also provides face recognition system on CCTV cameras. They have been with Rwandan Police for Public Safety and Security. NEC also has cyber operation in Japan, Singapore, Australia, Brazil, and South Africa. Ignite, on the other hand, is a part of capital tourism and encourages in combating cyber attacks, ensuring a safe city and provide energy solutions. Ignite will work closely with NEC, Exxon, CDOC to create local expertise in collaboration with local partners. It is also a pleasure to witness Japan and Mauritius strengthening ties and cooperating in such a wonderful way. Global expertise mixed with local skills, always bring along fabulous works and achievement. With the emergence of new technology each day, we must prepare to innovate and bring progressive development within the field to gain a competitive advantage. However, we must also have a duty to prepare ourselves to face any potential risks of cyber attacks. We have to recognize that cybersecurity is a challenge for society as a whole. As such, it is of paramount importance that each company or even government is properly equipped in this era of cyber terrorism. With our day-to-day life, we are more and more dependent on technologies, and in fact that we are connected network makes security measures more important than ever before. In this respect, the German government approved new cyber security strategies in 2015, which encourages industry to invest more in cyber security for business operations, risk management, and innovation. To encourage better cyber security practices, Japan will also reduce companies' corporate tax if they can prove that their IT investment will improve their productivity and include cyber security measures. And only a couple of weeks ago, government introduced a new cyber security strategy at the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics approach 2 years later. The government planned to create a new body to ensure effective coordination among government agencies, the Olympic Organizing Committee, municipalities and business operators to respond to other cyber threats. Japan prepared for 2020 Tokyo Olympics, increased attention is being focused on cyber security in response to an increase in frequency and sophistication of cyber attacks. Such attacks create major concern for the safety of infrastructures such as railways, financial institutions, and others dependent on networks and systems. Japan aims to double the size of its information security market by 2020. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to have shared this recognition with you, and now I would like to also briefly mention to the current special measures. Sorry, Honorable Minister mentioned motion security issue, but sorry, just briefly. It is undoubtedly a very good initiative to have a first cyber defense operation center in Mauritius. I wish to congratulate Mauritius on the national cyber crime strategy of last year. I have a quick glance at it a couple of weeks ago, and I must admit that I was very, very impressed by the content. Having seen in the country for 1 year now, I must say that Mauritius has lived up to its reputation as one of the most technologically advanced African countries. And in the Ministry's intervention on a 2018 to 2019 budget, it is noted that the Mauritian Artificial Intelligence Council will be set up comprising members from the public and private sectors, as as well the international expert in this new field in order to strengthen foundations and ecosystem for artificial intelligence AI to develop. And it is very laudable that Mauritian government will introduce a new scholarship scheme for 50 university students specializing in emerging technologies, including AI, as well as blockchain. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, recently, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs have selected the first Mauritian satellite, MIRESAT-1, for the Kibo Cube program. The Kibo Cube program aimed to encourage young people to take an interest in space. I am delighted to see the dynamism of young Mauritians displaying their talents and having access to such platforms. It shows that Mauritius is technologically advancing and keeping up the pace with the other countries. Mauritius surely would use this opportunity to better learn about the satellite technology. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, over the years, technology has revolutionized our perspective of the world, thus created amazing tools and resources, putting each person's most useful information at their fingertips. I guess the future of technology is even more interesting than what is happening right now. But the way we have to make use of it depends on all ourselves. So I am pleased that NEC is present here in present Mauritius, and I hope that NEC will work and do well in building a bright future here in Mauritius. Before closing, I believe that this conference will be a success and will contribute much on sharing information and experiences in IT field among participants. I thank you for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Of Technology, Communications and Innovation, His Excellency, Ambassador Japan, my friend David Ipoli, Jean-Philippe, and all friends from the IT industry present today. Good afternoon. You are all technology experts, so I won't talk about technology today. Thank you, David, for inviting me to express on the Mauritian perspective concerning the industry for good. I will have a quick overview of the economic landscape in Mauritius, talk a bit about government 4.0 and Africa. This slide's date, I think, 3 years back, which explains our GDP spectrum. Today, services in general represent, I think, almost 70%. 70% of our exports. All these sectors, financial services, tourism, ICT, BPO, and others, will be affected, will be concerned when in a few years the new technology revolution will arrive in our country. In fact, in several countries, they have already started to migrate with the new technologies, robotics, AI, etc. We see in Singapore, retail market has changed. In UK, has completely changed. So we must prepare ourselves. The IT partners who are present here, I'm sure in the coming years will move more and more in the consulting spectrum, which will be, say, a real growth for all companies. Sugar, for our foreign friends who are here, in the 70s was around 40% of GDP, and today only 2%. SMEs and conglomerates, Shebol, in South Korea. Large companies won't really get affected. They won't really have big problems because large companies have the means to hire foreign consultants to get partners. But SMEs in Mauritius will be affected if we don't prepare these guys in the coming change. SMEs represent 40% of our GDP and 55% of employment. In this picture, we see that the micro and small enterprises represent 75%, I think it's a bit more, 80%, and the medium enterprise, 20%. And the SME contribution in the total exports of the country is only 3%. On the right hand, we see the difference between large companies and SMEs. The top 15 large companies in Mauritius contribute to some 12% of total employment. Whilst again, SMEs, 55% of total employment. But they don't really have the necessary means and facilities for finance. Recently, in the last budget, I think the government took some quite interesting bold steps. Honourable Minister talked about the SME scheme where young graduates will be paid by government and integrate into SMEs so that they help SMEs grow. This is a really interesting scheme. And the Development Bank of Mauritius, which is also supporting SMEs and startups in the IT, the innovation sector. Yeah, this is a recent study from the UK where they saw that the sectors that are getting really affected, retail, agriculture, property, education, are the first ones to get affected with the arrival of I 4.0. On the right hand side, I think it is today 80,000 jobs that were recently lost in the retail stores. Only the British home stores last year, I think it was 2 years back, there was a loss of around 11,000 jobs. This will be the case here in Mauritius also, so that means that we need to prepare ourselves. There are also opportunities. I talked about the threats, but when we have the threats, we need to prepare ourselves and and see the opportunities. There are huge business opportunities. The financial services, for example, I think there's not a month where we don't have conferences in Mauritius about AI, about blockchain, about fintech. It's about creating awareness. At the end of this month, there will be a conference on I 4.0, hosted by Media and one of our partners. During 2 days, with international speakers who will share the experience. Manufacturing, yes, small factories, higher percentage of robots labor. Cannot read well, you can see. It's too small. Okay, anyway, it is said that in China, today there's around 49 robots per 10,000 workers, but it aims to reach around 150 by 2020. This means that 600,000 robots will have to be installed in the next 2 years. In several countries, I think South Korea is the leading country in robotics, after Japan, and Japan just after, I think. In the ICT BPO sector, we have software robots who have replaced people. In France, 60% of the call center traditional agents have disappeared to software. And government and the public services will also have to prepare themselves. Yeah, proper education. Minister talked about STEM. Collaboration between different agencies, sectors, cross-sector collaboration in order to create, let's say, better products. Products is also a service. And the key word will be effectiveness. There's a new economy in this Industry 4.0. It's about the sharing economy, like Europe, for example, Airbnb. These are only examples. And this will go directly into government. The way government do business will impact directly. In Mauritius, since 2 years, I think, government already started some kind of projects using InfoHighway to share data so that public bodies today deliver quicker applications and be more effective. Yes, of course, there will be a war for talent, education, training, continuous training for all of us. We are always learning. Anyway. Yeah, rethinking the way public sector work continuously. Normally we say that in government, different ministries work in silos and secrecy. This is changing. Governance as a ceremony, for example, I will go quickly. It is often said that governments were stuck in a previous industrial era for decision making. But in this new world of sharing, they have to change. There is a power shift, actually. There is a company called, what's his name? Free Balance Committee, Free Balance International Steering Committee, who have done a lot of research in new way of doing business in government. They have developed applications, analytics, and provide advice. We see this power shift from government to citizens, sharing, collaborating. In US, a few years back, citizens developed applications for governments, for local authorities, in a cheaper way, with a different mindset. There's a trust in government worldwide. And the guys studied and, let's say, and saw that collaboration between citizens help make quicker decision making and new applications. how can governments unpack the digital transformation opportunity? I won't go into the calculation of mathematics, but you can go on this website, Free Balance International, and it's really interesting to have it. Okay, quickly a few slides. Governance implications, political and governance. These are thematics which are completely detailed so that ministries, public sector, and also public bodies, parastatals, can use to become more efficient. Economic implications, social and cultural implications, environmental implications. We need to take into account all these 5 blocks, and then like doing a program, a new application, have a scorecard and be able to measure like KPIs, and then we can, let's say, deliver better services to the citizens.
Of our business, I believe that earlier we were all talking about 4.0, right? And how was the 4.0 going to be affected in terms of IT? For that, let me share a little bit those who are not very sure about NEC. NEC in Japan, the chairman is Mr. Nobuhiro Endo. The president CEO is Takashi Nino now. And we have around 107,000 of employees worldwide, and about 30 billion net sales, 238 consolidated subsidiaries in worldwide. And the headquarters in Japan, we have histories of 118 years in terms of brand of success. Well, as mentioned earlier, we are top 100 most innovative organizations and Fortune 500 companies. This is in Singapore, right? We started in 1947, and we are located at the Bendiame. And Tetsuro Akagi is our CEO. Mr. Lim Kokui is our Deputy CEO and Managing Director in Asia Pacific. And we are approximately about 1,200 people. As those who know us in Asia Pacific, the last 3 years, we are about 500 people. And the last 3 years, we have increased to 1,002 now in Singapore, right? And also, these are all the solutions, services, product, and the industries we are focusing in Singapore. Well, today, we are also in Asia Pacific. We are over the world. It's a 26 billion revenue, number 1 in SMB. And we are leader in biometrics. We are top 100. Then 75 million global users, 125 countries, and global 100 most sustained companies in the world. Now, we are recognized as a leader by Conférence and Exclusivité, and we have 4,000 channels partners worldwide and 107,000 team members worldwide now. And well, as looking at this picture, a very busy so-called picture. I want to make it simple to understand, right? If you look at NEC from this satellite, actually we have the solutions from satellite all the way to the submarine cable in worldwide. Most of the submarine cable, I can say 70% in worldwide is actually supplied by NEC also, right? I believe there's one pipe is also coming from Africa to Maurice. That's where we're covering most of the internet in worldwide. And well, this is the greatest and most disruptive time to do business, I believe, in 2018. A lot of people saying that why is the timing? And let me share with you that business landscape increasing in digital and connecting for customer satisfactions. I believe most of us today here, right, we are talking about our customers, right? Either your customers or my customers. At the end of the day, right, without the customers, without any industry, either in IT or in any type of industries. Right. Well, the 4 key pillars value that empowers smart enterprise, that we are very focusing in terms of 4 things. One is business agility, right? How fast your business change, how fast the technology change, right? And you need to respond to your customers. And collaborative communities, this is also how the team work and how people workplace and how your business style that you're doing. Right. Cloud delivery is basically how do you be carefree demand or your premises on-premises hybrid that you're looking at. The shared service here is basically not the consulting services or everything, is where the business continuities you are talking about, how your assured service, if you are banking, right, you need 24/7, right, if you're call center, you need 24/7, those are the assured services we are talking about. As NEC is very well positioned on this, we make ourselves different from the digital journey is that we give global recognized leaders innovators, we do global partners for co-creations, we work with partners in co-creations, right? We clear global strategies, priorities that what we are doing in ICTs, we have security across the global solutions, and our priorities are sustainable global futures. And from there, well, before moving into the platform 4.0, right, accelerating transformations journey is, well, if you look at the world map here, right, when you're talking about the red, the green is where today all the people are talking about the Silk Road, that's where China building, right? The red one is where we're talking about the air, and the blue where is talking about all the sea trades. Many years back, everybody knows that even in Mauritius, the Portuguese came with the ship, right? That's how where people travel, people do business. But today, well, it's a very small truck here, that this is in US, and people, I'm not talking about the truck, but I'm talking about the driverless truck is the AI, that's where it's moving the business today, right? And well, the paper, some people say that, paper was invented by the Chinese, but the Europeans is the one who made the printing, and enhanced all these things too. But today, communications is in internet, clouds, right? And well, I can say mobile, technologies, APIs, this is one of the apps that everyone talking. Can I ask a question? Anyone don't carry smartphone here? If you forgot to take your phone, will you return back to your home to take your phone today? I can say yes. First thing, very important, right? It becomes part of life is IT. And mobile phone, in terms of smartphone, is a mini computer that actually is already evolved in our life without knowing it. Well, some of you, I can say it's very rude when you're having dinner or lunch, the friend will tell you, stop, don't take first, I need to take a picture. Right? And then, they say that, I want to share with others. But in front of you, they are not sharing, but sharing with the people outside there. It's not having dinner with you. And the last but not least, to your loved one, you'll say, hey, good night, darling. You give a kiss, then you take your phone, you put it up. The next morning, that is the one who wake you up. Anyone still using alarm? No, right? Basically, your phone is your alarm. That is the first one to call you and wake you up and give you a morning kiss before you're dying. Right? That's where the dawn of Renaissance, and that's where the accelerating transformation journey that's been transform our lives. Right? So I want to exchange and transform the experience. You see, we want to exchange what is our experience. Right, we want to see how the transformation, I want to share how the experience that NEC can brought to you today in Mauritius. The holistic business changes the lifestyles. Why we say, I believe that everyone has said, why we know about blockchain, artificial, human interact, sensors and device, right? And these are the things that have changed our lifestyles. How do we go in? The transformations affect lifestyles. As I believe David mentioned and some of you mentioned, 2 out of 5 will lose the job in coming future. Yes, this is true, but not all. To be ready to transform the coming changes. Right. As David mentioned, right, in France, the call center have changed. Today, you can see no receptionist. Basically, you go in, the phone will take it out of the job. And the call centers, the software has taken away the job. Right? So, what will remain? Probably, you may think, in terms of Honorable have mentioned and Dave have mentioned, right? I think today, for the next generation of Mauritius, maybe you should start thinking of your children. Next education, what are they going to study? Frankly speaking, in Singapore, right, you'll be surprisingly, right, some of the people say, well, I want to be a lawyer, but today lawyer in Singapore is already on cloud. Because the secretarial lawyers, you don't need to be face-to-face anymore. You just send them the documents in the cloud. They revise everything and send it back and pay me. They don't even want to see your face. It's probably the software have taken a job away, right? But one thing is very important that, as Dave mentioned also earlier, right? There are very important things that robot cannot take over, right? And robotics is gotten more and more, but the best probably for your next education is going for software development, coding, engineering, because they are robots, they will spoil. Right? That's probably will be a talent war for the future for all these jobs. Right? And then, while you're looking at that, sales and marketing will remain, because why? You need people to sell. Right? And people are selling the robots, or people selling the AIs, people selling the services. These are the people who retains, right, as a job. So by 2020, 50 billion devices will be connected, and that's the challenges for you guys to think for your next generation, right? Probably, you should start. If their hobby or their dream, right, is against the technology that's coming, it's okay. But if within the technology, I think it's time to ask them to make another choice for the future. That's also talking about, ubiquitous transformation, right? Change on business model, change on landscape, and change on solution and services. These are the three main changes that is going to come very, very soon. Each customer business model drives delivery choice. It's not the IT, but it's the customer choice, right? You can have investment, you have flexibility, your security, your business, your resources, whatever is it. Well, we have three types of choices for you: the on-premise, the hybrid, or public or privates. These four business models will never change. And our smart enterprise technology strategy is to grow the market share while delivering the competition's simple solutions. We also develop intelligent edge solutions that ease enterprise and digital transformations. We provide you the lead the way individuals interact with smart enterprise, contribute to smart societies. These are the three strategies that we will bring you. And in global providing blocks for executions that we access the new market demands, this is very important for us, to expedite the new solution release, drives the transformation in all aspects. And education, government, healthcare, hospitality, these are the four industry segments we believe will be very, very strong in terms of executions. And smart enterprise, functionally united, that's NEC brings the global model within EMEA, US, and APAC. We give you the global partner supports, we give you the business partner transitions, and we develop the co-creation, the certifications, training, knowledge sharing, strengthen the customers and the partner relationships, co-creation with partners and customers for added customer value. This is all the united business model that we have created in the world. And from there, smart enterprise created all under one, that easy to manage and control. If you look at on the left-hand side of me, that's we optimize the security. We make the 50% less features today. The features actually, the more that you have, the more complicated in networks. We give you the so-called less space is important. Then the aircon, 30% lesser, 30% power lesser. Installation and development provides to you network easy management, and we have standard high availability in this particular design, fully virtualized, flexible and scalable. Big data analytics is one of them. Of course, final will be the biometric solutions, as where the cybersecurity is very important. And IT solutions, that what we provide here in terms of the IT options, we provide you the backup solutions, machine learning, accelerator, very simplified and deep learnings. And in terms of the solution integrations, we have AI, big data, NEC, behavior, and we have cloud backups and private clouds and high-performance clouds, all these solutions that will be shared with. So, in terms of here in the enterprise, I have key 8 smart enterprise drivers to share with you guys. Before that, let's look at the video, right? How China do this. But I'm not selling Alibaba technology in Maurice. I just want to share how the layman's
in China,
they move.
Convenience stores play a very special role in the community. In fact, there are about 6 million of them across the country. Whether in busy cities or in the rural countryside, they serve as a kind of general store, giving people access to the goods they need. But while the rest of retail has almost completely reinvented itself in recent years, these stores have been operating the same way for decades. These are classic mom and pop operations. More than 80% of the owners are over the age of 45. They tend to put in long hours and do all of the work themselves. That means everything from stocking shelves to running the register, and inventory and ordering too. Now, Alibaba wants to give these stores an extreme makeover. Step inside a modern mom-and-pop convenience store. This store is part of a new Alibaba initiative called Tong, which translates to Retail Integrated in English. It aims to bring modern analytics and operations to a business that's often run by intuition. Huang Donghai runs Weijun Grocery Store with his son Han. They've owned this grocery store for 8 years.
之前的话，我们觉得觉得就是碰到的困难很多了。我们觉得就是它这个时代了，需要这个转型升级。
Alibaba stepped in to offer the Huangs a suite of new services aimed at digitizing their business and boosting the bottom line. The Huangs use the Tong mobile app to order goods for their store. The app uses consumer analytics to create a list of the goods most likely to sell. With Tong's help, they've also added services like mobile and data top-up to their offerings, as well as cooked snacks. They no longer have to deal with multiple distributors. Instead, they order their inventory directly from Tong. And the Huangs never have to worry about running out of stock because Tong has both city and regional warehouses. If they need to restock fast-moving goods, the city warehouses will deliver it the next day. For less frequently bought items, the regional warehouses guarantee 2-day delivery. Brands benefit too. Mondelez, the owners of Oreos and Trident Gum, use consumer insights gathered in these stores to launch a single Oreo package that targets customers who want a quick, affordable snack. This process of going digital may seem daunting for a small business owner at first, but that's why Alibaba has brought in outside consultants called City Partners to aid with the transition. City Partners help install the back-end technology and educate store owners on how to use Tong to fine-tune their merchandising, product display, and in-store promotion. City Partners earn a commission on merchandise purchased by store owners. The Huang's convenience store has gone from this to this. The Huangs have done so well that as a part of their Tong upgrade, they chose to become a Tmall corner store. It's a special branded initiative that gives well-performing stores access to greater product selection, a point-of-sale system with integrated inventory tracking, in-store digital advertising, and some pretty cool LED signage. There's even a shelf of goods that targets the demographics of consumers that live in the immediate area.
他们这个天猫小店这个项目，主要是为了改造，他们提供给我们一些我们平时可能做不到的服务，比如说像一些我们可能接触不到的一些厂商，或者是一些新的技术。
Father and son are proud of their new store, that in the age of big malls and online shopping, they can stay true to their roots, but still take advantage of digital tools to help expand their business. Now, they can stay in this neighborhood for many years to come.
So if you've seen how the pop-up shops, I believe in Mauritius there's also a lot of pop-up shops like this. I'm an ex-Malaysian. I just converted to Singapore 3 years ago. Well, in Malaysia, I see no difference with Mauritius. We have a lot of pop-up shops, but you see how the Chinese, as they transform themselves, from all these shops into the technology is like a 7-Eleven type. People feel more comfortable. They feel all this. I believe that this is also the transformations that Mauritius is actually on the journey.